Hi guys, welcome back to another planty video on my channel, The Planted Carly Flower. I'm Carly and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite plants that's not a Hoya, go figure. We're going to be talking about Monstera Standleyana. I have the green form and the elbow. So we're going to go over where it can be found, how its care is, what its propagation is like, what kind of pests it might be susceptible to, and just the general care of the plant today. So if you've got a Monstera Standleyana that you want to learn a little bit more about, or if you're thinking about getting one, I'm here to tell you that they're great, easy plants, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit about it today.
I want to be daring, baby, dance the night away. I let my head down if I want. Don't you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time?
Okay guys, Monstera Standleyana, a little background information before we get into the good and dirty of general care. So basically it can be found in places like Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama, areas like that, and it is a nice climbing plant. It's going to look for something to attach its aerial roots to, climb up, and the higher it climbs, the bigger its leaves get. But Monstera Standleyana's are totally manageable to have inside, and they are gorgeous, beautiful plants. They are absolutely gorgeous. I gave mine a nice moss pole to climb onto, and it seems very happy with that. I did go ahead and let my plant get a little bit thirsty so that you can see what they look like when they're thirsty, and then I'm going to go ahead and water it because I don't like to let my plants get that thirsty normally, but I did it for the YouTube. Okay, Monstera Standleyana was first described by a person named G.S. Bunting in 1967. And he thought it was just as cool as I did apparently because he wrote a whole article about it. Easily sought after if you want to go ahead and fire up Google and check it out. But this is my Monstera Standleyana. I'm going to go ahead and insert some footage here. And we're going to talk a little bit about its general care while you're looking at the plant. So Monstera Standleyana does love some well-draining soil or a well-draining substrate. I have one in regular soil and then I have one in leca. They both do very well. I definitely prefer soil for this plant. I'm not gonna lie. It just seems to flourish a little bit better for me in soil. The leaves of the plant in the leca do tend to stay pretty small. I don't know if it's just my Standelyana or what, but I prefer soil as a substrate for this plant. It is in terracotta and it does like some bright light. It does like prefer indirect, but my plant does get some direct eastern light in the morning, maybe 1 or 2 hours a day, and it absolutely is thriving with that. I do not give it any direct exposure from a really high light source like a southern window. That would probably be too much and would burn the leaves. It does like some humidity, but it's definitely not a necessary thing for this plant. My average home humidity ranges anywhere from 10 to 25 degrees, or 10 to 25% rather, and it does just fine. As you can see, it's pumping out leaf after leaf. The top 3 leaves are leaves that came in my care. The bottom leaves are ones that came in with the plant. You can see one leaf on there somewhere has some black or browning spots, and that's just where it was completely white and it did crisp up in the shipping process, but that's okay. It's still putting out beautiful dappled mottled variegation, and I absolutely love it. This plant would like a temperature range of 65 degrees Fahrenheit, that would be 18 degrees Celsius, to 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 degrees Celsius. And like I said, it does like some humidity, but it's not necessary. So that was my Monstera elbow. I'm so glad that you guys are able to take a really good look at it. There is a green form, which I will put some footage in here as well. And this plant is in leca. And I do prefer soil, like I said, for this plant. My plant in leca does not seem to be thriving as much as my plant in soil is. Now this cutting I rooted and it did come to me much smaller in the leaf anyway, but I've had multiple varying sizes of leaves and it's just not as beautiful and grand as my elbow is, which, you know, is fine. Every plant is different, but this is what it looks like. And that is my Monstera Standelyana green form. So there is an Aurea or Aria, I think it's Aria, which is a more yellowish, goldish variegation. I will put a picture of one here. I do not own that one yet, but I plan on getting it eventually because I really do love Monstera Standleyana. It's a very easy care plant. You want to water this plant when the substrate is dry. Don't let it go too long or the leaves will start to curl under as given in this video. As you can see, I put this in here for 2 reasons actually. You can see that the leaves are curling under a little bit from lack of water. I did let it get a little too dry so that you can see what the leaves start to do. And then you can see the bottom leaf there. This is what a leaf looks like when it's just on its way out. There's nothing wrong with this plant. It's absolutely thriving. It's getting a new leaf as we speak. It's just this leaf is older and is getting ready to die off to give nutrients to the plant and to let the plant put its energy into making other leaves. So this is what a leaf will look like when it's getting ready to just die from basically what I would call old age. It's the oldest leaf on the plant, and I have absolutely no concerns for the plant because this leaf is yellowing. It's completely normal and natural for your plant to shed old leaves. Now, if other leaves start to yellow after this one or top leaves start to yellow, then I'll get concerned. But as of right now, this is completely normal and natural to me. Okay guys, so I really hope you enjoyed that footage of my plant and you got to see a little bit about what you can expect when your plant starts to get a little too thirsty. I would definitely keep an eye on your plant. Keep a little, mental checklist, or even write it down if you're not good at that, and just say, okay, my plant leaves start to curl after 6 days dry. So then maybe you want to start watering your plant on the 5th day. And this is just an example on what the substrate completely, let the water run through, drain out, and then just go ahead and put it back wherever it goes. Okay, to propagate a Monstera Standelyana, you're going to look for a node, and that would be where the leaves come out of the stems. A node is generally there will be a little bump there. Cut a little bit below that node so you have some stem. Go ahead and stick that in either water, leca, perlite, your preferred substrate, and go ahead and keep the water nice and clean. I would change it about once every week or so unless you notice it's getting dirty faster than that. Keep it in a nice, warm, bright place. And I will warn you, Standelyanas tend to root a little on the slower side. So mine took about a month before it started putting roots out for me. And don't be concerned, don't be alarmed. Your plant will eventually put roots out. Unless it starts to either rot away or yellow completely, you're probably okay. So definitely just give it the time and the bright light and the fresh water that it needs, and you will soon have roots and a brand new plant to either share or add to your collection. Pest control. Pests on this plant are usually thrips like this plant, mealybugs like this plant. It's not really immune to any particular plant. I could not find very many instances of spider mites being attracted to this plant, but it could definitely happen. I do my own pest prevention. I wipe the leaves down at least once or twice a month with some neem oil mixture. I will list my neem oil mixture here. And I go ahead and make sure the plant stays nice and clean. I keep my saucer and the outer part of the pot clean. That way I don't have any pests attracted or that are looking for places to hide. I also do use a mesh guard over my drainage hole when I plant. That way, not only will dirt stay inside the pot and not create air pockets, but it'll be harder for pests to find their way into my plant through the drainage hole. That's a great pest prevention that I don't find many people mention. Definitely tend to your plants regularly, do a little bit of pest prevention, and you shouldn't have too many problems with the Standelyana. I've never really heard of it or seen it be a magnet for a certain type of pests, so simple prevention will probably do you just fine.